Mister, can you fix our door? Mummy says she's scared. The voice was small, crystal clear. It cut through the freezing wind of the Brooklyn street like a bell. Kang Tae-Joon, the man known as the Shadow of Seoul and the ruthless head of the Black Dragon Syndicate, stopped dead in his tracks. His bodyguards, two men built like tanks in black suits, immediately reached inside their jackets for their weapons. To them, anyone approaching the boss was a threat, even a child. But Tae-Joon raised a gloved hand. Stop. He looked down. Standing there, shivering in a thin pink coat that had seen better days, was a 4-year-old girl. Her hair was in two messy puffs. Her eyes were wide, brown, and terrified. Behind her, Amara came running. She was breathless, her face pale with panic. This was Amara. "Zola! Oh my God, Zola, come here!" Amara scooped the child up, pressing her face into the girl's neck. She looked up at Tae-Joon, and he saw it, the terror, pure, unadulterated fear. "I'm sorry," Amara stammered, backing away. "She doesn't know. Please, just ignore her. She's just a child." She didn't wait for an answer. She turned and ran, slipping slightly on the icy pavement, clutching her daughter like she was protecting her from a monster. Tae-Joon didn't move. He stood there, the snow falling on the shoulders of his $5,000 cashmere coat. "Boss," his Lieutenant Jin muttered, "just neighbors, forget it. We have a meeting." But Tae-Joon couldn't move. The little girl's voice was echoing in his head, louder than the wind. "Mommy's scared. She cries at night." He looked down the street. House number 42. It was a run-down brownstone. The windows were dark. And the front door, it was hanging off its hinges, tied shut with a piece of fraying rope. It shook violently with every gust of wind. Tae-Joon felt a coldness in his chest that had nothing to do with the winter. He remembered that door, not that specific door, but one just like it. 20 years ago, a basement apartment in Busan, a mother who piled furniture against the door because the lock was broken, a little boy who pretended to sleep while his mother cried, praying the debt collectors wouldn't break in. That little boy was him. Tae-Joon turned to Jin. "Cancel the meeting." "Sir?" "I said cancel it." That night, the blizzard hit. The temperature dropped to -10. The wind howled like a dying animal. Inside house number 42, Amara sat in the corner of the living room. She was wearing her winter coat, gloves, and 3 pairs of socks. She held Zola in her lap, wrapped in every blanket they owned. The heating had broken 3 days ago. The landlord wouldn't answer his phone. Bang, bang, bang. The front door rattled against the rope. The wind was trying to tear it open. "Mommy?" Zola whispered, her teeth chattering. "Is the monster coming in?" "No, baby," Amara whispered, rubbing Zola's back. "No monsters. Mommy has the rope. See? It's strong." But the rope wasn't strong. Amara watched it fraying. One more strong gust, and the door would fly open, exposing them to the street, the snow, and anyone who wanted to walk in. She closed her eyes and prayed, "Please, just let us survive the night." Then she heard it. Knock, knock, knock. It wasn't the wind. It was a solid, heavy knock. Amara froze. Who comes to a broken house in a blizzard at midnight? She gently put Zola down and picked up the only weapon she had, a heavy cast-iron skillet. She crept to the door. "Who is it?" she called out, her voice trembling. "Open the door." The voice was low, calm, deep. She recognized it. It was the man from the street, the one the neighbors whispered about, the Korean man who bought the mansion at the end of the block, the one they said killed people with his bare hands. "Go away," Amara shouted. "I'm calling the police." "The police won't come in this weather, and your rope is about to snap. Open the door, or the wind will do it for you." Amara looked at the rope. It was holding by a thread. She had no choice. She unlocked the flimsy deadbolt and untied the rope. The wind ripped the door out of her hand. It slammed against the wall. Snow poured into the living room. But then a large figure stepped into the frame, blocking the wind. Kang Tae-Joon stood there. He wasn't wearing his suit. He was wearing work clothes, thick canvas pants, heavy boots, and a black turtleneck. And in his hand, he held a red metal toolbox. He didn't look at Amara. He looked at the broken hinges. "Hold the light," he said, handing her a heavy-duty flashlight. "What?" Amara stared at him, stunned. "The light," he repeated. "I can't fix it in the dark." Amara took the flashlight. Her hands were shaking. You came to fix the door?" Tae-Joon didn't answer. He knelt on the freezing floor. He opened the toolbox. Inside, the tools were old, worn, but cared for. He began to work. For an hour, the only sound was the wind outside and the rhythmic screwing of metal into wood. Tae-Joon replaced the hinges. He reinforced the frame with steel plates he had brought. He installed a heavy-duty deadbolt. He worked with a focus Amara had never seen. He didn't complain about the cold. He didn't look at the poverty around him. He just fixed the door. Zola peeked out from her blankets. "Are you the magic man?" Tae-Joon paused. He looked at the little girl. His cold, dark eyes softened for a fraction of a second. "No," he said quietly. "I'm just a neighbor." He stood up. He tested the door. He swung it shut. Click. The sound was solid, secure. The wind stopped howling inside the room. The draft was gone. Tae-Joon packed his tools. He turned to leave. "Wait," Amara whispered. Tears were streaming down her face. "How much? I don't have much money until Friday, but—" Tae-Joon put a hand up. "My mother," he said, staring at the door he just fixed, "used to pile chairs against the door. She never slept, not for 10 years. He looked at Amara. "Sleep tonight. That door will hold." And then he walked out into the blizzard, disappearing into the white darkness like a ghost. Amara thought that was the end of it. She was wrong. The next day, she woke up to a strange sound. It was a humming sound. She touched the radiator. It was hot. The heating was working. She called the landlord. "Did you fix the furnace?" "No," the landlord grunted. "Some crew came by this morning. Asian guys, paid for a whole new HVAC system, cash, said it was a community service thing. Don't ask me." Amara dropped the phone. That evening, when she came home from her double shift at the diner, there was a box on the porch. Fresh fruit, milk, vitamins, and a stuffed animal, a small white tiger. There was no note. For weeks this continued. The leaky roof, patched while she was at work. The broken window in the kitchen, replaced with double-paned glass. Amara stopped taking the shortcut through the alley. She started walking past the mansion at the end of the street. She would see him sometimes, Tae-Joon, standing on his balcony, smoking a cigarette, watching the street. Whenever she walked by, he would nod, just once, a sharp, almost imperceptible tilt of his head. Amara would nod back. They never spoke, but the silence between them wasn't scary anymore. It felt heavy, like a blanket. One afternoon, Zola sat at the kitchen table with her crayons. "What are you drawing, baby?" Amara asked. "The Shadow Man," Zola said brightly. She held up the paper. It showed a black stick figure with angry eyebrows standing next to a house. But over the stick figure's head, Zola had drawn a giant yellow sun. "He looks scary," Zola explained, "but he keeps the monsters away." Amara took the drawing. Her heart ached. The next day, she did something brave. She walked up to the iron gates of the mansion. The guards stepped forward, but Tae-Joon's voice came over the intercom. "Let her in." She found him in the garden. He was feeding a massive Rottweiler. "Here," Amara said, thrusting the drawing at him. "Zola made this for you." Tae-Joon took the crinkled paper. He looked at the stick figure. He looked at the sun. For a long time, the ruthless Mafia Lord didn't speak. His throat bobbed. "She has talent," he said gruffly. "Thank you," Amara said softly, "for the heat, for the roof, for feeling safe." Tae-Joon looked at her then. His eyes were intense. "Safety is a luxury, Amara. You deserve it." It was the first time he had said her name. But peace is fragile. 2 months later, Amara was walking home from the bus stop. It was dark. The street lights flickered. She felt it before she saw him, the smell of cheap beer and stale cigarettes. "Well, well, look at you." Amara froze. Her blood turned to ice. Stepping out from the shadows was Marcus, Zola's father. He had been in prison for 3 years for assault. He wasn't supposed to be out for another 2. "Marcus," she whispered, "you have a restraining order." "Paper," Marcus spat. He took a step closer. He looked rougher, meaner. "I heard you're living good. Heard the house got fixed up. You got a sugar daddy now, Amara?" "Stay away from us," Amara warned, backing up. "Where is she?" Marcus growled. "Where's my daughter?" "She's not yours. You gave up that right when you broke my jaw." Marcus lunged. He grabbed Amara's arm, twisting it behind her back. She screamed. "I'm gonna go see my kid," he hissed in her ear, "and you're gonna open the door." Suddenly, a beam of light blinded them. High beams. A sleek black car had pulled up to the curb silently. The door opened. Tae-Joon stepped out. He didn't look like a neighbor tonight. He looked like the devil himself. He was wearing a black suit, black gloves, and his face was a mask of cold fury. Behind him, 4 men got out. They held nothing, but the way they stood said everything. "Let her go," Tae-Joon said. His voice was quiet, terrifyingly quiet. Marcus laughed nervously. "Who are you? This is family business, pal. Walk away." Tae-Joon didn't walk away. He walked forward. "I said," Tae-Joon repeated, stopping inches from Marcus's face, "let her go." Marcus shoved Amara aside and swung a fist at Tae-Joon. It was a mistake. Tae-Joon caught the fist in his gloved hand. Crack! Marcus screamed as his fingers bent backward. Tae-Joon kicked his knee out, sending him to the pavement. "You have 5 seconds to disappear," Tae-Joon whispered to the writhing man. "If I see you on this street again, they won't find your body." Marcus scrambled up, limping, terrified. He ran into the darkness. Amara was shaking, clutching her arm. Tae-Joon turned to her. The coldness vanished from his eyes. He took off his coat and wrapped it around her shoulders. It smelled of expensive cologne and tobacco. "Did he hurt you?" he asked, checking her face. "He'll come back," Amara sobbed. "He always comes back. He's crazy, Tae-Joon. He'll break the door down." Tae-Joon looked towards house number 42. "No," he vowed, "he won't." Tae-Joon placed guards on the street, invisible shadows watching the house. But Marcus was desperate, and he had friends, low-life thugs looking for a score. 3 nights later, the storm returned. Rain lashed against the windows. Amara and Zola were sleeping. Crash! The back window shattered. Amara shot up in bed, grabbed Zola, and ran to the bathroom, locking the door. "Mommy?" Zola cried. "Shh, baby, it's okay." She heard heavy boots in the kitchen, voices. "Find the cash, check the mattress. Where's the girl?" That was Marcus's voice. They were in the house. Amara dialed 911, but the line was busy due to the storm. Then she remembered the card. Months ago, Tae-Joon had given her a card with a private number, only for emergencies. She dialed. "Tae-Joon," she whispered. "He's here. He's inside." "I'm coming." The line went dead. Outside the bathroom door, Marcus laughed. "I know you're in there, Amara. Come out and play." He kicked the door. The wood splintered. Amara held Zola tight, closing her eyes, waiting for the end. Boom! The front door of the house, the sturdy, reinforced door Tae-Joon had installed, didn't break.
Someone had kicked it in, but not Marcus. Gunshots, suppressed, quiet piff-piff sounds. Then the sound of bodies hitting the floor. "Clear," a voice shouted. "Kitchen clear." Silence. Then a gentle knock on the bathroom door. "Amara?" It was Tae-Joon. Amara unlocked the door. Tae-Joon stood there. He was wet from the rain. He had a small cut on his cheek, but his gun was holstered. "It's over," he said. Amara collapsed into his arms. He caught her, holding her tight against his chest. "I told you," he whispered into her hair. "I fix doors, and I keep them closed."
Marcus went to prison. This time, Tae-Joon's lawyers made sure he got 20 years. A month later, it was spring. The flowers in the window box were blooming. Amara heard a knock at the door. It was Tae-Joon. He was holding a large envelope. "I have something for you," he said. He looked nervous. The mafia boss, who could break men in half, looked shy. Amara opened the envelope. It was a deed to house number 42. "You bought the house?" Amara gasped. "I bought the building," he corrected, "and I put it in your name, yours and Zola's." "Tae-Joon, I can't accept this. This is too much." "It's not a gift," he said softly. "It's an investment." "In what?" "In a home," he said. "I never had one. My mother never had one. I want you to have one." Zola ran out onto the porch. "Shadow Man!" She hugged Tae-Joon's legs. He stiffened, then picked her up effortlessly. "Thank you for fixing our door," Zola said. Tae-Joon looked at Amara over the little girl's head. "Amara," he said, "the door is fixed, but I was wondering." "Yes?" "If I could maybe come inside, not to fix anything, just for dinner?" Amara smiled. It was the brightest thing on the street. "I made stew, and Zola drew you another picture." Tae-Joon smiled back, a rare, genuine smile that reached his eyes. He walked inside, and this time he didn't close the door to keep the world out. He closed it to keep his family in. Sometimes the people we fear are just people who have been hurt the most. Kang Tae-Joon was a monster to the world, but to a little girl and her mother, he was just the man who fixed the door. He spent his life building walls to keep people out, but it took a 4-year-old asking for help to show him that doors are meant to be opened too. If this story warmed your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe to your channel. And tell me in the comments, do you think Tae-Joon saved Amara, or did Amara save him? Until next time, stay safe and keep your doors open for love.